Okay, I think it's best to begin already. Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome to our webinar. We'll be very happy to spend the next 2 hours together, taking a deep dive into the world's biggest marketplace, the Ariba Network. Together, we'll explore this tool top to bottom to give you some insights about how it can enhance your business as a supplier company. This session is entirely for your benefit, so please feel free to use the Q&A section of the tool. We are eager to answer all your questions. That's why the Q&A section will be monitored during the entire webinar, and we will facilitate a discussion at the end to answer all of your questions. So let's begin with some session introduction. To give a bit more structure, I will walk you through the webinar content. Generally speaking, we'll provide you with an introduction and high-level overview of the core supplier functionalities on the Ariba network. We will be sharing insights from Proxiad's day-to-day experience as well as our procurement knowledge. We will walk you through some A to Z's of the Ariba network and teach you what the network is and how it can benefit you, navigation through the user interface, explore new opportunities and customer relationships, outlining some different opportunities for catalog implementation or document routing and even ERP integration. In addition to all of this, you will gain some insights about what a company needs to know when taking the decision to become a supplier and discover the capabilities for registered suppliers. We will answer these two essential questions for you. What the network is and why should your company be a part of it? Let's start with a proper introduction. Today's session will have two speakers, myself and my colleague Sveti. We're both working at Proxiad Bulgaria, which is a Bulgarian company part of the Proxiad group. This is an international IT and business process solutions service provider. It's operating in 10 different cities and 4 delivery centers spread across Bulgaria and France, with more than 1,000 IT engineers, experts, and consultants. Next to that, Proxiad Bulgaria has more than 7 years of extensive experience with the SAP Ariba solutions. We are a certified SAP Ariba Silver partner with a deep hands-on experience in supplier enablement, also catalog implementations and purchase-to-pay integrations, which makes us unique in assisting suppliers being successful on Ariba network. We are a team led by certified consultants in the Ariba procurement, which can manage a completed implementation of the solution both on buyer and supplier side. As for myself, my name is Julia, and I'm a process coach, subject matter expert for our SAP Ariba project. I have more than 4 years of experience as a trainer, and I'm also a certified Ariba procurement consultant. I'm currently assisting suppliers with their onboarding on the platform, explaining how Ariba works, how to navigate within the interface, and also later helping them create, publish, and activate their catalogs. Other things I'm occupied with is onboarding new team members and introducing them to the world of procurement. I'm very happy that I'll be sharing my diverse experience with you here today. And you'll get also the chance to meet my colleague Sveti, who is working with supplier integrations. So you will get to know a little bit more about her later. Now it's time to introduce also our main character today, the Ariba network. We'll start with a basic definition and an introduction to the largest business network. You'll understand what the network is and how it can benefit you. AN, or Ariba network, is commonly known for digitizing procurement transactions. From purchase orders to order confirmations, advanced shipment notices, and invoices, Ariba can complete the entire procurement process, including e-catalogs, internet catalogs. Side to side with that are some specialized services such as a global community of purchase-ready buyers, which can be used to cost-effectively advertise your business, also called Ariba Discovery. We have Ariba sourcing at our hands to win new businesses and explore new customer opportunities. Last but not least, there is the Ariba Exchange community, which is a vibrant network to connect with your peers and exchange your experience and knowledge about the network and how to get the best of it. All that comprised, we have the Ariba network. Sounds great, but let's put it in a more simple way. This is a dynamic digital marketplace where buyers and suppliers collaborate on procurement and supply chain transactions. As a supplier on the Ariba network, you tap into the world's largest business-to-business marketplace, with millions of companies doing business at more than double the volume of Amazon, Alibaba, and eBay combined. Ariba Network makes it simple to accelerate the sales cycle while lowering the cost of sales, finding new customers who are ready to buy, responding to requests for proposal, information, submitting proposals from buyer companies, and negotiating. This can help boost sales further also by developing a company catalog, handling purchase orders, sending invoices, and receiving payments all together while you know when you will get paid and for what. This strengthens customer relationships and increases customer retention. On Ariba, both direct and indirect materials can be managed all together with labor services. Sounds great. Let's explore some more. AN, or Ariba Network, is a buyer-driven platform. Buyers ask suppliers to join the network so you can work together more efficiently and effectively on all shared aspects of business commerce, such as proposals, contracts, orders, invoices, even payments. Doing so, the Ariba network can save you both a lot of time and money. As a supplier on the network, there are many different opportunities to explore when connecting with your buyers. The foundation of a good relationship is establishing it also in an electronic way. The trading relationship requests in Ariba is a handshake between the buyer and the supplier company, and it opens the door to many different opportunities and ways you can share with your buyers. You can connect your own web shop to the Ariba network and provide access directly to your buyers to tap into your existing portfolio. If you prefer, you can also host a catalog directly on the Ariba network, creating a customized content for your buyers. You can receive directly purchase orders from those buyers based on contracting terms without even having a catalog in place. Or if you wish, you can automate the whole process end-to-end by connecting your ERP and seamlessly integrating the entire procurement process. You can also work with services and labor on the Ariba network to receive service procurement orders directly from your buyers in a single platform, the Ariba network. All that is great, so let's see how the Ariba network user interface within the supplier account describes those functionalities and how you can navigate through it. We start with the supplier portal access. Going to supplier.ariba.com, you have the access point for all supplier entries. All suppliers visit this website, and on the login page, the global navigation bar is displayed, which contains the Ariba network dropdown on the top, where the finger is pointing, right here. We have then the Ariba Ads options, which corresponds to the buy-side functions across the spend management spectrum. Supplier users can select the Ariba Cloud application they want to log in and then provide the required credentials. The credentials are entered in this field. There is a username, which is always in the form of an email address, even if it doesn't necessarily have to be, and it's connected to a password. Should there be any issues with either password or username, the intuitive interface gives us the option to follow the hyperlink if you had forgotten your username or password and recover it. If you are new to Ariba and are just about to register, explore the Register Now and Learn More buttons. If you need some help with that, here is the help section to give you a hand with what is going on. Upper left corner, the question mark. Now let's see a little bit more about each of these. We have the login page interface. The Ariba Network dropdown contains the following applications. Ariba Discovery. We talked about this global community of purchase-ready buyers, which gives the opportunity to cost-effectively market your business. It can be used either as a buyer or a seller using the options I'm buying versus I'm selling. As a supplier, you can register and receive leads, respond to matches, and find new opportunities, new customers. A very interesting fact is that in the beginning of the COVID crisis, thanks to discovery, one of the largest US hospitals managed to find respirators in a blink of an eye. That is the Ariba Discovery success story, and we are very proud of it. The next application on the list is the Ariba Proposals and Questionnaire. This is the place where sourcing activities happen. Here you can win new businesses, respond to buyer sourcing events, such as requests for information, proposal, participate in auctions, answer registration questionnaires or qualification questionnaires, complete different tasks, all to win new businesses and opportunities. Those opportunities later can be locked into a contract using the Ariba Contracts interface to collaborate on the terms and conditions and make sure that what you have agreed on can be put into a functioning contract. Last but not least, we have the essential Ariba Network, where procurement transactions take place and where we will dig a lot deeper into today. Here, I will take a note on the help section on the right side, which is now expanded, and you can see the full spectrum. You have suggestions based on the selection on the page. Currently, we are logging in, so we have suggestions how to log in, some basic information about registration tips, and so on. There are different types of articles. You can see FAQs, some reading content, and even some videos. If you wish to explore more, just hit the search button or use the documentation tab located in the lower right side. Next to it is also the place where you can contact the support from the support icon. If you wish, you can also pop out the entire help section to get better visibility and explore the full window. Let's see now how it looks like to log into the Ariba Network account. I'm typing in my username and password and clicking login. And I'm already in the dashboard interface. You can see here, that's how it looks like when you're logged into your account. The help section immediately changes the listings to give you a gist of what is happening currently. If we have a look at the banner on the top, where we see the Ariba Network, the basic procurement, we will see next to it Enterprise Account and Test Mode. Those labels are added to the banner to display the account type. There are two types of accounts, Standard and Enterprise Account, and each account has two modes, Test and Production Mode. The Test account is used as general staging. You can perform any type of settings, testing with contracts, with purchases, catalogs, invoices, everything. You can fine-tune your test account to be configured exactly and match your production account just so you can ensure consistent testing results. But once you have set up everything on your test account and you know it's working in the best way, you are ready to receive a test purchase order by your buyer. And as an additional surplus, the test account transactions are free of charge. The network will always display in which mode you're logged in, either test or production, and the only difference actually is the setup that you make, which is differentiated by different account IDs. The one which is in test mode has an appendix to your Ariba Network ID, -T. In the top right corner at the end of this banner, you also have your initials. Here in our test account, they're just AA, and you can from there explore the company settings, where the Ariba Network will display an expanded list of menus. The company settings drop-down displays a two-column menu where items are segregated into account settings and network settings categories. This is the place where you can make any changes to your account configuration. It's an extremely good idea to test these things in the test mode because there is no harm done to real transactions. The test account is there for you to give you the opportunity to explore Ariba in its full. Talking about exploration, I want to give you a little brief about supplier account types. In an effort to digitize transactions between all trading partners and remove the barriers to conduct commerce between each other, Ariba Network offers two types of accounts for their suppliers. We know suppliers have different needs and goals when doing business, which is why we have two types of accounts to choose from and address the specific needs of the supplier. The standard account is an email-based method which gives basic functionalities, such as receiving purchase orders, confirming them, flipping them, or making them into an invoice, tracking the status to know when you'll get paid. Standard account is free to use. It provides unlimited transactions and access to an easy-to-use centralized portal. The second type is the enterprise account, which provides additional benefits such as the ability to view previous documents, there's online support, running reports, collaboration on even more advanced business processes such as the integration to your ERP, creating supplier managed catalogs, and etc. Enterprise accounts are subject to charges. But as an Ariba Network supplier, you have these two choices. The right one for you is based on your business model and how you think you can best achieve your e-commerce and sales goals. With that slight detour, we're going back to the Ariba Network and the procurement transactions. I will touch base about supplier account types a little bit later, but I just want to use the opportunity while we're on it here to really give you the grand tour of the Ariba procurement. Aside for the banner on top, we have the homepage summary now in front of you with the subtabs of inbox and outbox, which are drop-down menu items. When you click any of these menu items to the drop-down list, the Ariba Network refreshes the whole page and displays what is required. The inbox is the place where you'll have all the documents that your customers have signed, such as orders and releases. Releases are actually just orders made against a contract. Other documents can be found in the inbox, such as collaboration requests, time and expense sheets, early payments, scheduled payments, remittances. That's all documents that are coming from your customers. In the outbox is the exact opposite, all the documents that you have sent to your customers. Those are the invoices, order confirmations, advanced shipment notices. Right next to the inbox and outbox is the catalog section. This is the place where you will see all your supplier managed catalogs. We have also the reporting section and the messages section, which are basically self-explanatory. I would like now to tell you a little bit more about catalogs. It is what I'm involved with, so you can see how I'll be talking here with a lot of passion and experience. But I want to give you a very good overview because the content suppliers make available to their buyers combines both the consumer-like shopping experience, which we're used to when doing online shopping, but here in the background, there's also a sophisticated procurement process, which makes it even more elaborate. Often you can ask yourself the question, why use a catalog at all? Because you can control how your products and services are displayed to buyers and thus increase the exposure to new customers to grow your e-commerce business. There are a lot of features and benefits to catalogs. You will get more accurate purchase orders because you can easily update the product information, which will mean more accurate purchase orders. You have full control over the details and specifications that customers see about your offerings, which is an advantage. More accurate purchase orders means easier compliance. The validation process and the user-friendly templates make it easy for you to create catalogs compliant fully with the customer requirements. We all know that the customer is always right and we want to give them what they want. Well, it's very easy when it's so easily customizable for you to present that customized content to suppliers and buyers. And what if your customer needs features beyond what's available in our templates? Then you can use theirs. Using a catalog also makes it way faster to get responsiveness. When your catalogs are up to date, you'll spend less time having to field your product inquiries and more time helping customers in more meaningful ways. The catalogs, as well as other network capabilities, help you to understand how your catalogs can be continually improved to meet the customer needs. That brings a stronger bond between you and your customer. In the end, something which is very important is the enhanced cash flow. Better catalog content that's easily accessible by your customers means more sales with shorter order cycle times. This can definitely lead to greater wallet share while also you're reducing costs associated with order and catalog processing. If those benefits weren't enough, I'm sure that giving you a little bit more information about catalogs will help you out in here. This is the section called catalogs in the Ariba network. This is the place where you publish the different types of catalogs, where you can update them, fix any outstanding errors, and get dedicated information. Also, you can see the help section is now displaying catalog-related topics. At this page, you publish and manage your catalog for buyers. There are, in general, public and private catalogs. Private catalogs are published for a particular buyer, whereas public catalogs are available as a whole on the network. It's best to host private catalogs for particular buyers who can provide customized content to fit your buyer's needs. The catalogs are anyway the main communication channel between you and your customers, your portfolio, what you're offering to them. That's very important. And the great thing about the catalog section is that it can improve accuracy and reduce the catalog maintenance workload, thus making it easier for you to keep your customers happy. We have different catalog types, which can basically cover any scenario which you might have, but let's have a look into them. We have first the so-called static catalogs, which are created in a single file, which is uploaded to the network and from there pushed to the buyer's procurement application. Those three catalog types are called CIF, or catalog interchange format, Excel, and PME-CAT. I'll get into more details about those in a minute. But I will first like to say that we have also a very dynamic version of catalogs called Punchout, where you can establish a dynamic connection with your supplier hosted website. So basically you have a web shop, you connect it to the Ariba network and let buyers make their orders from it. Let's see how all these things happen. In general, we'll start with the overview of the static catalogs because I want to give you a little bit more information before we go. Static catalogs use a Microsoft Excel-based template to enter product and price information. What you need to do to publish such a catalog is fill out the template, upload it, catalog is validated and activated. The moment that it's activated, it's available to your buyers' users to make purchases. As I mentioned, we have three types of catalog files which can be uploaded onto the Ariba network, but they all result in the static catalog visibility on buyer side. Here on the picture which I have presented, you can actually see how the static catalog looks like. You have product information, a picture, and the button Add to Cart. This is the place where your customer can add this item and purchase it. There is no way from the interface to distinguish whether this has been a CIF, an Excel, or a PME-CAT catalog because they all look the same in the interface. The difference is the way those catalogs are prepared and the file extensions, which you can see here. For CIF files, this is the catalog interchange format. Excel is using the Excel SX format, and PME-CAT is in XML format. Ariba loves XML because actually the native language of Ariba is XML. Let's go now a little bit into more details about the CIF catalog first. This is how a template looks for a CIF catalog. You fill out all the product information here. You convert it from XLSX or XLS to CIF. This can be done either manually or with a tool. You upload it to the Ariba network and the catalog is validated and activated for your customers so they can make purchases. The Ariba procurement application takes the values from the different fields and inserts them in the interface. If I back up one slide, the information which you insert in the catalog file is then appearing next to these products here, which are displayed. The catalog interchange format looks slightly different than this Excel sheet. It's a little bit more scary, but Don't need to worry. Those are things which actually can be managed in Excel, and only the final point before uploading it looks, let's say, in this bulk text way. Let's have a look at another static catalog, which is the Excel file. We can't not mention here that it is a big advantage that you use directly an Excel file, which doesn't need any conversion, but as you prepare it, you can go straight and upload it to the network. It is a great advantage. There is no conversion required. But there's more. Actually, this template provides advanced data representation capabilities. You can provide nonlinear pricing, meaning that quantity-based pricing, for instance, or some limitations related to the minimum order amount, packaging, and so on. There's also the option to provide auxiliary images, not just a single image. Items can be related. You know, it's very nice when you shop online, in your consumer experience, when you have another product suggested for you. Well, that's what the related items are. There can be attachments such as instructions, guides, more product information, which can be added using this template. It's also way more easier from maintenance point of view to find and resolve any potential errors. The CIF file, once created, it's a bit bulky and more raw in its material, but here in Excel, we are very used to using various functions, so we can take advantage of the full Excel capabilities to find any issues, conditional formatting, formulas, and so on. That's way more user-friendly, and it's usually equals up to shorter preparation times. That was the second type of static catalog we have. And last but not least, there is the BME CAT, which is an XML-based catalog format developed and maintained by the German Association for Materials Management, Purchasing and Logistics. This is Bundesverband Materialschaft, Einkauf und Logistik. This is why the name is called BME CAT based on that. A few German companies got together and developed this template, let's call it. Actually, it's a whole catalog type, and it's used by a lot of big companies such as Deutsche Bahn, Goodyear, BMW, Bosch, ThyssenKrupp, Bayer, E.ON. This is the dominant catalog format in the European region, especially Germany. Ariba procurement solutions support the BME CAT version 1.2. The way the catalog is prepared is that there are BME CAT creators online, which can be filled out with the information, and then an XML file is created. The XML file is in human readable format. You can see bits of it here, and it again represents product information, which is recognized by the procurement application interface and then displayed to customers in the exact same way as other static catalogs. The different options out there on the market are making sure that we can reach a wider audience for suppliers, making it easy for each and every supplier to have the best catalog type, which is easiest for them to prepare and, of course, most common in their area. That is what I wanted to show you about static catalogs. Now let's move forward and see something about something more dynamic called punch-out catalogs. Punch-out catalogs are interactive catalogs stored on your own website. It uses XML to enable a two-way communication of electronic commerce details. How do we set up such a catalog? You have to configure CXML profile in Ariba Network, then configure your web shop to receive and read and send back those XML messages. You need to upload an indexed file in the Ariba Network. Basically, all catalogs on Ariba start with something being uploaded, and then the catalog gets validated and activated, which makes it available to customer users. We have two types of punch-out catalogs. It's called level 1 and level 2, and I will give you a little bit more details in a moment. But first, how do these punch-out catalogs work? For punch-out catalogs, procurement applications display a hyperlink instead of product or pricing details. So if you would have, for a static catalog, add to cart, like this. For a punch-out catalog, you have buy from supplier. When users click this hyperlink, their web browser displays a page from your local web shop. Depending on how you implement this page, users can either browse through different product options or specify configurations, select delivery methods. It's a whole big universe there. Procurement applications pass over the organization IDs to your website, and you can use them to look up previously agreed upon prices, usually contract prices, which then makes you the opportunity again to provide customized content for your buyers. When users finish with this page and they're buying, they click a button that returns the order information to the Ariba buyer application, from where a purchase order is generated and sent to you over the Ariba network. These fully configured products and their prices will appear within the procurement application on the buyer's purchase order, and the information comes straight from your web shop. It's as easy as the click of a button, go to the Ariba network, and straight to your web shop, and then all the way back to the Ariba procurement. It's very intelligent, very delicate, and very sophisticated. Obviously, it's my favorite. Let me show you now the two types of catalogs, punch-out level 1 and level 2. You can see the difference right here. The punch-out catalog level 1 represents a direct link to your homepage. Basically, a buyer user is redirected to your web shop at the products page or the initial page, so they can go around and look for their desired item. In case you want to be more targeted and set some, let's say, organization within the catalog, you can use the level 2 punch out, where the buyer will go directly to an item or an item category or a whole group of items. It's called aisle, shelf, product. So basically, depending on how you want to set up your configuration to at what point is the user taken to your web shop, those are the two different types of punch-out catalogs. They present products and services with photos, there's car branding, there can be some customized promotions, recommended selections, pre-negotiated pricing. Basically, this offers a one-click shopping so you can receive and respond to your buyer's order faster. You can control also the product information each customer sees, such as pricing, inventory, branding. You can also conduct some buyer-specific testing to ensure a seamless, tailored customer experience. The punch-out is extremely helpful if you sell complex, service-oriented, or highly configurable product offerings. If you have large catalogs with hundreds, thousands, even millions of items, it would be very hard to populate them in a single file. It would just be easier to connect to your web shop where you have the full content already available in its past. You can also use punch-out to sell goods that require constant updates on price, description, content, or have high number of transactions where it would be very hard to maintain a static file. This is where the dynamic functionality of the punch-out comes in handy. Then we go to, after knowing already what the catalog types are, let's see a little bit about what can go wrong. Here are some catalog validation and errors troubleshooting tips. Commonly, we have three types of errors which can appear. They are syntax, content validation, and connectivity errors. The syntax errors are caused by any issues with the structure, the template, or the formatting within it. They caused fatal errors, and these checks cause the file to fail validation. And if a catalog fails validation, the catalog manager must fix any errors in the catalog file, import it again, or make changes to the existing setup to fix the connectivity issues. A good note here is that actually these errors can either be visible on the Ariba network immediately after you upload the catalog, or later once you receive the feedback from the buyer system. Here we always have this, that we are always in touch with the buyer. The Ariba network is just the marketplace. It's the place where suppliers and buyers meet, but everything happens on their backends. So in the buyer's backend, if there are any issues with the catalog, the Ariba Network will notify you so you can fix them. This is how it works, a two-way relationship. So if there are any issues with the template, they will need to be fixed. You can upload a new version. Let's say you accidentally deleted one of the mandatory fields, you just fix that and you upload the fresh file on the Ariba Network. The other type of errors are the content validation errors or just validation errors. They can be caused by issues with the data that is inserted, such as units of measure, commodity codes, missing information from mandatory fields. I will elaborate further a little bit here. It's very important, the information which is inserted in the catalogs, because it is then converted into a purchase order, an order confirmation, a shipment notice, an invoice. It's very important that this information is valid. That is why there are some allowed values for units of measure that are accepted both by you and your customer. Same for commodity codes. There's also some mandatory information without which these documents cannot be processed. That's why if this information is missing in your catalog, it will just not work out going forth. That's why you will have an error that will prompt you to fill that information out. Usually the syntax and content validation errors are tightly related to static catalogs, whereas with punch-out catalogs, we don't have really the content being managed in a single file. Instead, that's the web shop, so there is actually a different kind of relationship here. With punch-out catalogs, the problems that can occur are actually the connectivity to this web shop. Usually the inability to establish the connectivity with the website or the inability to return the shopping cart to the Ariba procurement. Those are the issues with the punch-out catalogs. Of course, those can be caused either by the issues with the XML messages that are exchanged, or there can be some incomplete setup either on buyer or supplier side. Fixing those issues, it amounts up to a working catalog. More information about all these things can be found on the help section. Now, some catalog best practices coming straight from our experience. When deciding whether to use a static catalog, you should always consider some trade-offs. The static catalogs allow rapid deployment. Once the file is ready, you just upload it. That's it. Catalog just needs to be activated. It gives you great compliance control. Only what you insert in the file will be visible to the buyer. It also has low setup cost and complexity because it doesn't require any specialized support. It's just an Excel file that has to be filled up with information manually, or it can even be using formulas in Excel. So basically, once the file is ready, the catalog is ready. It has excellent benefits if you want compliance, low setup cost and complexity, and rapid deployment. Things are different if you want to use the punch-out. There you have to have, first of all, users need full internet access. Some companies don't allow. Also, some companies only use intranet sites, so access to external pages, such as your web shop, would not be possible. It requires you to implement and maintain an interactive website, which is accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The internet can be slow depending on the connection type and the internet load. There can be some issues which come up, often technical, due to this, let's say, more complicated setup. So you will need an IT personnel available to set up the catalog and later troubleshoot any user issues. Those are some main things to consider when you choose a catalog type, but of course there is a best fit catalog to each business goal. So what you need to do is basically just find the right pick. If we have to go back a little bit to electronic order and invoice processing, we see now how it happens. We have catalogs. We connect with our customers, they make orders which come to us over the Ariba network. What we need to do is process them. As a supplier or also a seller, you must have an account administrator who should configure the routing settings for your purchase orders and invoicing. Routing is another way of saying how and where these orders will be processed. This can be done from your account admin by going to the company settings in the electronic order routing sections. You can set your routing preferences for new orders, change orders, cancel orders, catalogs, non-catalog orders. It's a very long list, extremely customizable. You can have general settings for your account, or they can be even customized per buyer relationship. So a lot of opportunities here. You can, for instance, choose the online routing where all the purchase orders arrive and are stored in your inbox, but there is no other notification. I should mention that no matter what you do, no matter what type of routing you have, always your documents will be available on Ariba. Whether you have chosen fax, email, or any other routing method or online, always those documents will be available. So let's say that this is the generic, the basics of how documents are routed. Of course, if you prefer, especially in Germany, this option is very popular, that orders can be faxed. When a new order arrives, it is sent to a specified fax number. Same can happen with an email. When a new order arrives, it is sent to a specified email address, and even a PDF copy of the order can be attached. It can be one email address or multiple, up to 10 email addresses. This is done entirely by your company. You can choose what is the best option for you. Let's say those are the basics to start transacting. Another thing which you need to configure is also how your invoices are handled. You do that from the company settings, and this time electronic invoice routing. The most common way is managing them online, which is done in the Ariba Network portal using the user interface. Let me show you a little bit about this. Let's say that you want to manually process your purchase order. This is a very famous legendary process in Ariba, which you would also be heard referred to as a PO flip. This is the process of creating a follow-on document directly from a purchase order. It maximizes the speed and accuracy of the follow-on documents. And here's what you need to do. You go to your orders and releases. This is the inbox drop-down. From there, you can select an order by clicking on the blue hyperlink. Whenever you see blue letters, that means a hyperlink. You click on the order number, and then you immediately have in your screen the order opened. On the top of your order, you will have 3 buttons: create order confirmation, ship notice, or invoice. There is a drop-down menu for the order confirmation because you can confirm the entire order, update some line items in case you need to back order, or reject the entire order. Also, there's a drop-down menu for the invoice to create either a standard invoice or a credit memo in case you need to return some funds. Basically, the PO can be flipped into any number of follow-on documents as indicated by the buttons: order confirmation, ship notice, if it was a service invoice, service sheet, and then invoice. This really is, let's say, the legacy method of flipping a purchase order into a follow-on document. But there's, of course, more. For invoicing, invoices can first, of course, be flipped from a purchase order, but they can also be created from scratch. On your home page, if you go to the Create button, you have the functionality to create an invoice either based on the PO, which is basically the same process as the PO flip, but you can create also a non-PO invoice, an invoice that's not tied to an existing purchase order. You can create an invoice against a contract, a credit memo, and of course you have here some other options for creation aside for invoicing, which is the time and expense sheets, and also catalogs. Usually the invoices or credit memo is populated with data from the existing document, if there is such, and if not, you'll need to fill out the invoice number, taxes, other details, then review and send. How you deal with invoices sometimes is very tightly related also to your buyer's preferences and their own internal process. So there can be a lot of variations here. Even paper invoicing is supported. That invoice is sent as a paper copy to the buyer, which then scans it and enters it into the system. It's a world of infinite opportunities when it comes to procurement and the Ariba network. And I want to show you a very fresh and interesting feature which is not commonly known, but I always love to show it to suppliers, the payments section. In the inbox, you have early payments, when scheduled payments, and remittances, which show you what you could be paid to, what you are going to be paid to, and what the customer is paying currently, which is a very powerful tool to manage your finances. And it's so easy with just a few clicks. If we have to sum up what we explored so far, basically the Ariba network is a smart post office. It passes documents from sender to receiver, uses transaction rules that apply logic to determine the movement of these documents. It's very configurable, actually. It provides so many different options for documents to be routed to suppliers, how you receive them. We only explored the basics here: online routing, email, fax, but there's so much more out there. And this is the place where my colleague Sveti will be able to tell you all about supplier integration methods. I would like to introduce to you Sveti, who will now take over and give you a little bit more information.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can see me and hear me well. We will now continue with the second part of the presentation. I would like to thank my colleague Julia for providing you with the information until now and giving me the word. This part of the presentation will be a short introduction to the integration methods. Before I start, I would like first of all to welcome you once again and to let you know that you can make use of the Q&A box. So if during the presentation you have any questions, please don't hesitate to enter them there. A few words about myself. I'm also working for Proxy Bulgaria. I'm a senior server integrator architect working with buyers and suppliers to establish successful connection via Ariba Network for long-term transactions. I also have experience in finance, and I have been on the supplier side as well, utilizing SAP ERP system in the past. So let's say that I have gone a full circle in using the platform. Now, what we have prepared for today is, first of all, a few words about what is integration in general and why the suppliers go and decide to invest the effort and resources to utilize this process. You have already heard a few words from Julia about the types of transactions to Ariba Network and also all the features that it provides. However, integration is one of the most sophisticated one, I would say. Basically, what it does is that it connects the supplier ERP system or accounting system to Ariba Network, and it allows them to have the so-called machine-to-machine transaction with the buyer. It is important to mention that it's a cooperation between a buyer and supplier side, which means that there is preparation and resources dedicated on both sides for this process to be successful. On the buyer side, this means that before you even are able to start this process, there have been rules enabled which clarify what types of transactions are in scope for a supplier to integrate, and some basic guidelines that need to be followed, especially about the structure of the documents that are integrated, in order the documentation, of course, to be received successfully at the buyer side. What it means for the process in general is that supplier and buyer have common business needs, and we make sure that during the integration they're actually enabled and transmitted via Ariba Network. For the supplier to be able to integrate, of course, a connection to Ariba Network is necessary. This is done via the so-called Cloud Integration Gateway, which is actually a cloud-based platform that allows this connection to be established. On the next slide, I will tell you a few words about it, and of course, tell you some more about the features that it has. It is important to mention that multiple methods can be used. We'll focus on one of the most common and also the requirements and specifics that needs to be acknowledged. At the end of the presentation, I will also tell you more about how to make the decision, what method to use, and also some best practices from our perspective as a partner. On this slide, you can see some additional methods of transaction to Ariba Network. There are many reasons why the suppliers go for integration and not use the additional ones. I would say the most appealing are, of course, the shortened document cycle, which means that once a purchase order is submitted to you as a supplier, you can receive it in real time, and vice versa. Once a document is created, you don't need to wait for it to be received via post or to be acknowledged via email. It is sent right away to the buyer ERP system. In addition to that, thanks to the validation rules that are in place in both the Cloud Integration Gateway and in Ariba Network, any transactions that are submitted, both sides are validated, which reduce the errors and also the needed of exceptions handled on both sides to analyze what has been actually the intent of the document. The last one, of course, is, as I mentioned already, it's a long-term investment, which means that if you and a buyer that you're working with decide to go for integration, this is a proven method to show your long-term intent to have a business communication with this buyer. Now, let's briefly mention the alternatives of the full integration. You can see on the screen the so-called CSV template or PDF folder semi-integrations. Both methods that I will review as well. They're called semi-integration because they require manual input on the supplier side in order the transactions to reach Ariba Network and then be sent to the buyer. But also they are the so-called buyer-enabled features, which means that for you as a supplier, if you have a buyer that you want to transact with and use this feature, you need first to check if they have set them up and they are available for you. The last option is the PO flip, and that Julia just mentioned and explained. So for the PO flip and manual entry for suppliers with standard accounts, the purchase order receivable is in the same method, so it is received via email or any alternative that is available on the Ariba Network. The difference is that for the suppliers with standard account, the invoice is submitted via email, while the suppliers with enterprise account can go directly to Ariba Network and open purchase order, flip it to invoice. Now, a few words about the Cloud Integration Gateway that I mentioned already. You can see a screenshot of it in terms of how it looks. It has a lot of benefits for the suppliers. First of all, it simplifies and shortens the integration process since it allows a lot of formats. You can see on your screen the supported formats for integration, but also it allows the full scope of transactions that can be transmitted to Ariba Network to be integrated as well. If you're a supplier and you configure the Cloud Integration Gateway, you have a platform that you can use for integration with many buyers afterwards. And also have the availability to reuse the connection, which means that if you have the same connection methods for different buyers, it doesn't need to be established every time you decide to create a project. As you can see on the screen, there are several features that can be used. One of the most available ones is, of course, the tracker of the transactions, which allows you to see in real time what is the status of the transactions that have been sent to you or you're trying to send to Ariba Network. This feature is highly utilized during the testing phase, which is mandatory for each integration. This is the phase where actually there are tests ongoing between buyer and supplier that validate not only the connection that has been established, but also the document mapping that is required from the buyer and used from the supplier accordingly. Also, you can see that there are additional features that you can utilize and provide added value as well. Something important to know is that the Cloud Integration Gateway is available for suppliers that are fully enabled and onboarded on Ariba Network. They need to have at least one active relationship with the buyer, also on Ariba Network, and also to have their document routing set up to the cloud integration gateway. So the routing methods that Julia just reviewed, they have also been included for the integration, which means that you can decide to receive a purchase order directly in your ERP system going through the cloud integration gateway, but also to submit order confirmations and rush report notices or invoices, again, through cloud integration gateway to Ariba Network directly, and the system will be expecting it. For you as a supplier, there are several requirements that need to be followed once you establish a connection to the cloud integration gateway. One of them is, of course, to configure your digital certificates to use the HTTPS or AS2 transport, depending on the integration method you decide to go for. For the purchase order receivable part or transactions receivable part in general, you need to have a secure URL to which the file to be sent, and also to have a SSL secure server where the message will be actually stored. Now, on the next slide, I will give you a few more words about the most common methods that are integrated via the cloud integration gateway, and namely we have the EDI and CXML methods. So the CXML, as Julia mentioned, it's the native language of the Ariba Network, which means that using CXML for integration will allow you to utilize the complete scope of transactions via Ariba Network, and of course, document structure customizations. Of course, we have the EDI formats as well that are very common for integration. In EMEA, this is the EDIFACT, while in the NEMO region, this is the X12 integration method. Here, you can see on the screen that in addition to what we have mentioned already as requirements for the cloud integration gateway, you need to first of all consider the buyer requested structure for transactions, which means to analyze what is your system capabilities in terms of creating a document in CXML, for example, and what is required on the buyer side to make sure that you can follow these requirements. Once these checks and validations are done, the actual integration process is very closely connected to the Ariba Network. Which means that once you have the connection and you have tested it out, during the testing phase, you'll be receiving purchase orders from Ariba Network to your ERP system, and then submitting transactions to cloud integration gateway and to Ariba Network. In this process, there are validations and checks that are done during the testing phase. Of course, Ariba Network allows you to see if a document is failed, why has it not been received successfully, if I have any structural changes that needs to be done. There are error messages that provide you very good information in terms of what is required to be changed and what is also not suitable for the mapping that you have decided. Here, important note, while we are discussing the different integration methods, be aware that for the buyer that you're transacting with, it makes almost no difference in terms of what method you're integrating, meaning no matter if you're using EDI, CXML, or any other alternatives that I'm going to review in a minute, the buyer will receive the document in a CXML format, which means that the method for integration is purely depending on your system capabilities and what is most suitable for you. Now, moving forward with the so-called semi-integrations, some alternative of the integration workstream that, however, still can allow you to benefit from them. The first one is the so-called CSV templates. The CSV stands for comma-separated value. And as you can see on the screen, it's basically a template that includes all the fields necessary for the buyer to process the invoice successfully, but in a table form. The template is completed on supplier side and uploaded manually to the supplier Ariba Network account, as you can see on the screen as well. Again, it's a buyer enable feature, which means that before a supplier can utilize it, there is a preparation work on buyer side where it is clarified what are the customizations needed in the field, what should be mandatory, what should be optional for the suppliers to complete. It is again a two-way cooperation on both sides. There some scenarios where the CSV template is the most suitable option. The first one is, of course, suppliers that may not be able to support a full integration, for example, not able to deliver the document to Ariba Network through a secure HTTPS connection. However, they want to upload multiple transactions at the same time, or, for example, for buyers that have purchase orders with multiple lines that are not supported in CXML. Important note here, once again, the CSV is not a full integration, which means that it will require some manual work on your side, completing the table, so making sure that all the needed fields as information are extracted from your ERP system and provided in the table, and also to upload it to Ariba Network. Another thing that is a negative side on the CSV template is that it is available only for invoices, order confirmation, and advance shipment notices. But for the order confirmation and advance shipment notices, it's a bit inflexible, which means that the customizations that are available for buyer invoices are not so implemented for the other types of transactions. And now we'll go to the second buyer-enabled feature, that is the so-called PDF uploader. So as you can see, the PDF uploader is a feature that allows the suppliers to create and submit digital or text searchable invoices, which of course means that images or screenshots of invoices are not accepted. It is again available for suppliers that are fully enabled, which means they have active accounts in Ariba Network, the needed subscription level and account type, and also have active relationship with the buyer that has enabled this feature. The actual extraction of the invoice once it's submitted from the supplier is done by a third party currently. Which means that for you, once you decide to utilize this feature and you submit the invoice via uploading it directly to Ariba Network or via email, you have the option to decide if after the invoice information is extracted, if it is going to be transmitted directly to Ariba Network or the third party will send it back to you for approval. Again, it does not matter that the invoice is submitted in PDF, the buyer is going to receive it as CXML format. In order a supplier to be able to utilize it after the features enabled on the buyer side, there's the configuration that needs to be done. So the supplier needs to be so-called activated. And also what needs to be configured is that there are only 120 data points that can be extracted, which means that the information provided on the invoice needs to be the really mandatory ones for the buyer to be able to utilize and to successfully receive this invoice. As you can see, these same integrations have their own limitations. For example, for the CSV transactions, what we have not mentioned is that you can have up to 2,000 lines. On a template, there is a limit of the size as well. For the PDF uploader, you can have maximum 10 documents uploaded at the same time. There is also size limitation as well. So indeed, these are features that are available only as alternative of the pure flip to reduce the manual interventions of the supplier side. And finally, we have an interesting solution that is actually again, alternative of the integration, but very different, is the so-called ERP integration, which is available only for SAP ERP of the suppliers or suppliers using S/4HANA. It actually allows the suppliers to have integration via Cloud Integration Gateway. However, by downloading the so-called Cloud Connector and add-on, they can utilize this without exposing any of the ERP structure or specifics. This integration can be done by following sample instructions. However, since it requires ERP configuration on the supplier side as well, this is something that we as a partner can support you with and can help you establish your site, as well as the all integrations that I just mentioned. Now, after all this technical information, just a few general recommendations. Since this was only a highlight in terms of integration methods, how can you decide what is most suitable for you and what should be the integration method that you use? The first thing that needs to be configured is do you have any previous experience, meaning do you have any know-how internally, any preferred method of integration that has been already established. Of course, if you have experience in one method, you can always try a different one. However, if you want to continue using what you are, this will make the integration significantly easier for you. Then, of course, your system compatibility. As I already mentioned, once you connect to the cloud integration gateway, you need to be able to safely receive transactions, but also to submit them in the needed format. This is an absolute prerequisite for 6ML or EDI integration or any of the alternative methods proposed on the cloud integration gateway. So if you're not able to do it automatically, the only integration method that you can go through is, of course, the same integrations that we just mentioned. If you have this compatibility, then the format CXML, EDI, or any of the additional ones can be based again on your ERP setup, what types of transactions you can create, but also you need to configure the transactions in scope for integration that are by requirements. For example, the service center sheets are available only in CXML format. Again, the integration is an IT project, which means that the IT resources needs to be dedicated as well. There should be a specialist that can do the mapping on your site to make sure that you can receive and send transactions successfully. Also, it is recommended to have somebody with experience in finance or procurement that can support the testing phase and confirm the setup on your site. These resources are absolutely mandatory no matter of the types of integration you go for. So if you cannot provide these types of resources or do not have a third party that can support you with, you can discuss the most suitable options with your buyer, or if you have less volume of transactions, go for the peer flip. And then, as already mentioned, document volume. There are some thresholds that are recommended by SAP as well in terms of the count of documents above which an integration is recommended and can provide good sites for the supplier. If you have above 500 a year, it is recommended that you go for full integration, which means that the resources you dedicate for integration will be invested in a process that will enable you to transact easier in the future. For the CSV integration methods, you can decide if you have around 300 or above 300 transactions. And then the PDF uploader, it is available above 100. So if you have this kind of transactions in number, you can go for the PDF uploader directly. And then the final slide in terms of best practices. So I already mentioned some of the thresholds, some of the requirements that you need to follow. To summarize, before the integration is started, you need to consider, first of all, the number of transactions that you have with the buyer you're intending to integrate with. If the transactions are under the threshold, you need to be aware that the resources you invest maybe will be more than the actual manual creation of transactions. Having the resources and the system capability is absolute must. And also, since we just discussed the catalog work stream, if you have a catalog in scope as well, it should be available in the test environment before an integration can be tested as well. This is logical because you need to have the final structure of the transaction tested out before it goes to production. During the process, some focus points, absolute milestones that needs to be covered that, of course, we from Proxiat can support you with. First of all is to complete the system setup. So once again, to have the server configuration, URL for file receival, and of course, to have the certificate enabled in order the transactions to be received successfully. Then you need to have the software development and mapping on your site. That need to be done according to the buyer requirements and to the Ariba XML guide for the transaction structure. The testing phase is the phase that needs to be completed successfully, meaning at the end of it to have successful transaction structure that allows seamless communication and does not generate any error messages. And of course, the publish to production, which is the actual go live process. That seems easy, but actually it requires all the settings and adjustments that have been done in the test environment to be moved to production as well. So it requires its own careful examination and, of course, analysis to have a successful go live and afterwards seamless transactions. So with all this said, we are going now to the final part of the presentation, which is, of course, some summary in terms of what can be provided on our site as partner from Proxiat. I'll give the word to my colleague Julia to present it.
Thank you, Sveti. You will be able, everyone, now to see my screen very shortly again. First, you're going to just be seeing me, and then you'll also be able to see the presentation. You see how many opportunities the Ariba Network offers. It's all about opportunities. That's why what we are going to discuss now is the opportunities in relation to customer relationships. We're going to highlight some specifics about the value that the Ariba Network brings to all those that are involved in the procurement process. So let's start with some basics. The Ariba is called to be a buyer-driven platform. What does that mean? In simple words, the supplier registration is usually prompted by the buyer. This relationship, which is formed between buyer and supplier, is very similar to, let's give it a very trivial example, friend requests in social networks. You send a friend request and the other side has to accept it. It happens in the same way on the Ariba network. It's not called a friend request, though. It's a trading relationship request. By definition, it can be requested either by buyer or supplier, but there are some processes around that. So let me give you a brief introduction. The very basics of enablement and supplier registration and onboarding is that the supplier, which is relevant to a particular buyer, is identified. Then the supplier registers an account on the Ariba network. Your buyer invites you. You accept the trading relationship request if you're already registered, or if not, you just complete the registration process. Then once the relationship is established, transactions can begin. On the other hand, if you are an existing network supplier, the buyer just sends your request, which you accept and then complete any enablement tasks. The enablement tasks would be some different activities, either setting up routing configuration or a catalog. Basically, enablement here is what do we need to do to start transacting. Okay, and now a little bit more about not only this, let's call it very basic way of enablement, but overall, what are the different ways a relationship can be initiated? We have narrowed these down to 4, and they're here in front of you. We'll start first with the quick enablement. This is when a buyer sends a purchase order to a supplier without them having an existing relationship. The order itself serves as the relationship invitation. The buyer basically creates an account for the supplier, then sends an email with the request for the relationship and the order all together. The supplier has to click on a link in their email and just take ownership of that account. They can either create a new one or link their existing account. That is a very interesting method, and that's buyer-driven. The buyer initiates this action. Then we have another option, which is the standard enablement. In the standard enablement, it's very close to the quick one, but it's just an email. And then the buyer informs the supplier about this relationship, and then they can start transacting only over this interactive email. There is no needed, no access needed to the portal. However, if the supplier chooses, they can register at any time. Then we have the full enablement, where buyers search for already existing suppliers on the Ariba network and send them relationship requests. That is one excellent driver for you to have already an existing and well-configured account on the Ariba network, so you can become discoverable for buyers. One way is Ariba discovery, but in general, there are just these opportunities that once customers know you run Ariba, they will start reaching out to you one after the other. And then last but not least, we have a supplier self-nomination project where you as a supplier can find a buyer and open a call, send a trading relationship request. This is usually not a common scenario, but it is possible, and that's a good way you can advertise your business if you're willing to step up and offer the friendship to a buyer. Those are the different ways two companies can connect over the Ariba network and start transacting. Now, a little bit more about this is if we touch base on, again, on the account types. We mentioned that there is a standard account and an enterprise account. Standard account is basic email functionalities, whereas enterprise account gives access to more, let's say, advanced business processes. With the standard account, what you can do is have access to a large capital spend suppliers, if you are such, and you have high value transactions for thousands of euros, levies, or any other currency, but they're low in count. Let's say you have 3 transactions over the whole year, but they are all in high value. That sounds very good, but then the standard account is something which you can use. On the other hand, you can also be a small company that transacts fewer than, let's say, 100 documents per year, both per service and invoices, but they are, let's say, low value transactions. Yes, there are more in count, greater in count, but they're low value transactions. Let's say you're selling paper clips and staplers. Still very good business, however, lower value transactions. Also, the standard account can be a good idea for suppliers who don't actually have this e-commerce capabilities, but they just utilize email. You don't have an elaborate backend ERP system, you are a smaller company, you have a valid email address, and you have, let's say, fewer employees, but they can still handle those requests via email. Then definitely the standard account and the quick ways of enablement are the thing for you. On the Ariba network, it doesn't matter the size of the company, there is a solution for everyone, and they can transact in a way that's suitable for their company. Now let's give a little bit more details about the enterprise account and which suppliers usually prefer that. Those are the so-called strategic suppliers. Those are huge companies which have already, let's say, a history on the Ariba network. They're very used with the interface. They use all those integration options, which Sveti presented. They have fully automated their procurement process and handle high value and high volume count of document transactions. Then there are also these legacy EDI integrated suppliers which handle over 500 documents a year. They definitely need the enterprise account and the supplier integration options. There are also suppliers who plan to provide catalogs on the Ariba network in the future. Then there's the need of the enterprise account. This full use account actually gives suppliers the opportunity to become more automated, more efficient when transacting. And when they can't just proactively manage a mailbox or go into the network and flip every order to a follow-on document. That's why for each supplier, there is a best fit account. There is the standard or the enterprise account. The enterprise account holds a membership fee, and the supplier fee schedule has 2 components. There is a subscription and a transaction fee. And there are different subscription levels. There is premium, bronze, silver, gold, platinum. All this information, if interested, can be found online on the Ariba Network site. More information also if you have an account, standard account, and you're logged in by clicking your basically the enterprise or standard account. It's a hyperlink. You will get more information about it straight from the interface. And now, having covered all that, actually we can get some takeaways about things to consider when becoming a supplier on the Ariba network. You need to really know what you're getting yourself into, and it's something great, but it takes some organization. You need to take in consideration who will be managing the account in your company, who will be the administrator. Do you have customers that are already on the Ariba network? Could you establish maybe a trading relationship request? Maybe have them send their POs through Ariba. Host a catalog for them. Do you want to have catalogs for this buyer that's already on the Ariba network? How about others? How do you want to prepare these catalogs in the best way? Do you have IT capabilities in existing web shop, or is your enterprise not supporting a web shop right now, but you do have excellent Excel skills, so you can prepare an Excel file in a blink of an eye? And how about ERP integration? Would you like to automate the whole process and have everything go all the way to your ERP system and have it automated, quick, easy, painless, an end-to-end process? And how about IT personnel? Do you have such? Can they be involved to provide support? And how about routing? What would be your preferred routing for purchase orders? Do you integrate to ERP? And if not, will they be sent over email, or should you manage them online? Do you want a paper invoice, send via fax? Those are all considerations to make. And how about setting up your entire company profile and setting up the rest of your account? What are the best settings? What is a configuration that you know it's working? And what if you have any technical difficulties of some sort, then who you turn to? And the answer to these questions is that actually Proxyad can answer all of those and more. We have more than 7 years of extensive experience with all the SAP Ariba solutions, and we have a deep hands-on expertise in the supplier enablement, including catalog implementations, purchase-to-pay integrations. And we are unique in this way. We're assisting suppliers being successful on the Ariba network going back 7 years. We are a team which is led by SAP certified consultants in Ariba procurement, and we can manage a completed implementation of an Ariba solution, both on buyer and supplier side. We really hope that this session was able to give you some answers. If not, please feel free to submit your questions in the questions and answers section. We'll be very delighted to answer them. Or in case you wish to get in touch with us going forward, those are our contact details. Please remember them, and in case you have any follow-up questions, you know where to find us. We do have now another 30 minutes remaining from our session, which we would like to dedicate to your questions. There is some delay. By the time we see your question, there might be some 30 seconds time, so please bear with us, but we're waiting for your questions in the Q&A section. Okay, I guess we managed to answer a lot of questions during the presentation, which I am very happy about. I see one question about our contact details at the end, whether they will be provided. Here they are. You can see them. Does anyone else have a question we can answer? Very well done. I'm apparently very talkative, so I'll fill out the time till your next question with a brief summary. We managed today together to go through the Ariba network as if you look at it from the first time. What is it? What can it do for me? Why should I use it? We had a look a little bit at the login, the interface, the different fields, the different sections there, and what we use them for. We have the capability of catalogs. What are those catalogs? Do I want to prepare a static file or do I want to connect my web shop? Once I'm already connected to my customer and I'm receiving documents, they can arrive where in my inbox, mail, fax, or they can be sent directly to the ERP. What else? We went over the different, of course, integration types, the options, whether to use the Ariba native tools. There's also some possibility for XML integration using CSV and so on. Finishing up with some relationships with buyers, how they can be formed, whether you're choosing the standard or the enterprise account, what are the capabilities in front of you. If you are a supplier on the Ariba network, then what are your possibilities to connect with the buyers? What are your possibilities in general with your account? I hope we managed to answer those questions. If anything remained unanswered, please submit your questions either in the Q&A section or get in touch with us directly and we'll help some more. A little bit more about Proxiat. We can be your implementation partner and consultant along the way with anything that has to do with the Ariba network for suppliers. So please come to us in case you want some more of our proven methodology for success and more of our best practices. Thank you very much for your time and attention today, and I wish you a nice day going forward. Bye.